Welcome to the Dirty Verdict Podcast, where your hosts, trial lawyers Kyle Herbert and Bill Ogden, and mediator Peter Taaffe, talk with interesting lawyers and break down recent legal news in detail. Here's Kyle, Bill, and Peter.
All right, welcome back to another edition of the Dirty Verdict Podcast. I'm mediator Peter Taaffe.
I'm litigator Kyle Herbert. Welcome back. Bill's here again. Always our special guest. Extra emphasis on special. And we have another guest with us today. Bill, why don't you introduce this guest?
Our guest today is Angelina Wike from Abraham Watkins. Nice of you to join us.
Thanks for having me.
Peter, take it away. You're good at this part.
Okay. Well, Bill, welcome to permanent status here at the Dirty Verdict.
Has he been fully promoted?
I thought I did that last week.
Is he vested?
He's bonafide. He's a suitor.
Yeah.
He's he's non-equity shareholder.
Not yet.
A what?
Non-equity shareholder.
Non-voting rights
Yeah.
partner. Yeah.
Right.
We're going to kind of, as part of your pledgeship, have you take the lead on this one, but I'll be happy to.
It's just a lot of stress for stress.
First, 30 minutes of this, I always just black out completely, and I just play off of what they say. So I'm not really sure, but I'll give it a shot.
No.
Angelina, tell us where you're from. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I was born in Houston, raised in Nassau Bay, where the astronauts are. What else do you want to know?
Where'd you go to school?
High school?
Yep.
Clear Creek in Lake City.
Whoa.
That was one of your rivals?
No, but it's a thing down there. The Clear Creek Wildcats. It's no Deer Park, but it's in comparison to Friendswood, it's the mean streets. It's the mean streets.
Everything's the mean streets when it's from. What are you from the mean streets of Greenwich?
Don't you judge me.
Is it in the same district? Do y'all play football against each
We used to know. So when I was growing up, Clear Creek was 5 times the size of Friendswood. So we would scrimmage you guys once every couple of years, but you would totally dominate us. But you did say that you ran track at my high school stadium.
But not with the school. It was kind of like a summer track program.
Mm.
But now instead of just creek, lake, brook, there's falls and springs, and there's all these bodies of waters that are now school names.
Are you pretty fast? Do you think you could beat Kyle in a race?
Absolutely, you could. Absolutely.
Oh, after the knee injury, I forgot about that.
Yeah, but thanks for bringing up such a painful topic.
That's what I'm here for. So after high school, where did you go to school?
I went to U of H. I actually took some time off. I went for about a year, and then I took a bunch of time off. I went back later, U of H, and then South Texas for law school.
What'd you study?
At U of H,
Mm-hmm.
criminology.
Tell us something about criminology.
So criminology, if you don't know, is sort of a hybrid of criminal justice and sociology and psychology. I always thought that I would go into criminal law in some form or fashion, defense or prosecutor. I wasn't sure. I think originally I wanted to do defense when I was studying criminology. I really enjoyed studying everything about the death penalty and what makes criminals do what they do and just all of that. And then
ID network major.
kind of. No, one of my classes actually, we watched Locked Up every single class.
Did you guys watch Raising Arizona in that class?
No.
Do you believe recidivism is an ugly word?
An ugly word? I believe it's a thing. What?
I mean,
Recidivism is a thing.
the greatest commentary on the modern criminal justice system has got to be Raising Arizona, but I mean, maybe I digress.
Yeah, Angelina, you got to kind of know a lot of random facts from random movies.
Mostly 80s and early 90s.
Do my best.
So a life of crime didn't work out for you. You decided to go to law school. What do you do now?
No, not quite. So yes, I decided to go to law school. I did a number of internships, clerkships with judges, and I interned at the DA's office for about 2 years. First case I tried was actually a criminal case.
Wow.
As a 2L with my 2L bar card.
Did you put somebody away?
I didn't put him away,
The jury put him away.
but I got a conviction.
Wow.
We didn't stop him. I put him away.
In all fairness, he had a little bit of a rap sheet, so I didn't feel too.
Yeah, he had it coming.
Did they? Let's divert onto that. So you can try cases as a prosecutor with a 2L bar card.
So with the prosecutor, yeah. So it was with my chief. You have to get several different layers of clearance from a number of people. They have to sign off on you and vouch for you. So I was already interning at the DA's office, and it was the end of my summer term, if you will, I guess my summer internship. And my chief had a POM, a possession of marijuana case coming up. It was a misdemeanor. And he said, I'm going to throw you in. You want to do this, you're going to do it. And I hadn't even taken evidence yet. Or no, maybe I had taken it that same summer. And so he helped me with my objections. I think he stood and objected 2 or 3 times when I didn't really know what I was doing. But other than that, I put all my witnesses on. I had 3 or 4, got all my evidence in, and I got a guilty.
How many years did that 14-year-old with a nugget of weed get?
You high right now, Panama Red?
Maybe. I'm always riding high.
So I also interned at the DA's office, and my most exciting thing I got to do was not try a case, but they did raid a bondsman's home one time because he, I guess, wasn't paying his bonds or he didn't have enough insurance. And they discovered like a pallet of R. Kelly videotapes with like postmarks like all around the country.
Oh, you mean those R. Kelly?
Those R. Kelly tapes. And so like I happened to be working that day when they brought all the tapes in, like sealed in tape, and they needed to refer an information, I guess, whatever, to the federal prosecutor because they were going to get this guy for distributing child pornography. And they needed somebody to sit in a little room with a very angry woman to swear out an affidavit saying that this did, in fact, appear to be pornography and to prove up the chain of title. And that was the worst day of...
You had to watch it?
Yeah. I mean...
Just enough.
So
just enough.
The DA's office, they were like, we got a guy that
With this guy.
would be perfect.
Yeah.
And it's Kyle Herbert.
It was not nice. It was not...
That was a paid internship?
Yeah.
So-
They paid me money for that.
Like
so.
$9 an hour to watch some CP.
But here's the great thing was it cost me like $6 a day to park.
Yeah.
So, and they would only let you work like 3 hours at a time. So like I would make $27, but have to pay $6 back to the county to park in their parking lot, and then like $13 to eat their food. So I made like $4 a day. But I did get to see some totally awesome R. Kelly porn.
Oh, I don't know if I would say that. Okay, we're going to clip that out.
Angelina's tasked with trying a case, and you were tasked with watching illicit videos.
Filthy shows. But I mean, I will say this about the DA's office. They're good at identifying talent and putting people where they're supposed to be.
Jesus, Kyle. That is so... It's not the story that you just gave us. That is not... I didn't see that one coming. But I agree with you.
When I'm a sitting judge in Harris County, you're going to understand how serious this conversation was.
He's playing.
You're never going to be...
He's looking down the road.
He's not going to be a judge. As soon as he starts running, I'm going to run the smear campaign of like, oh yeah? Ask him if he's ever watched child porn.
Have you been watching politics? Being into freaky deaky stuff maybe overqualifies me.
I don't know if you're a Matt Gaetz type, though.
All right, let's talk about Angelina Wike. Let's talk about Angelina Wike a little bit more and maybe focus less on me.
All right, so after the DA's office, you ultimately go take the bar, pass the bar.
Yeah, so I really enjoyed the DA's office, and I actually thought that was the direction I was headed. I thought that I would, secure some sort of once you take the bar, you can't just apply at the DA's office. You have to, in so many words, be like invited, right? So they handpick people that they want. I wasn't picked. I wasn't chosen. I don't know why, but so I take the bar, and then you can't apply there because you're not licensed. And so they don't hire JDs. They only hire attorneys, or you're an intern. So I could have gone on for 4 months until I got results, and I could have been an intern, but I needed to make money, and I wanted to work and make money. So I found myself at a personal injury defense firm for about a year. Yeah. So I worked.
Are you allowed to say their name?
Sure. Why not? Yeah.
Well, I won't.
I left on great terms. I actually ran into Michelle Quattlebaum. I didn't work for her, but I ran into her the other
Rod
night.
Newsom Quattlebaum?
So I worked for Jim Newsom.
I was going to say, you don't know what he's going to say after you say the name, but now we know.
Yeah, I have nothing bad to say about that.
I don't either. I actually have a couple of pleasant experiences with that firm.
Yeah.
Me too. Long time ago with Michelle.
I like Michelle. I didn't work for her. I worked for Jim, but I like all of them, really.
Good. So you're there for a year, enjoying quoting, I'm putting it here.
Stuff.
Essentially learning what I don't want to do. So it was PI, and I really didn't want to do PI. But on the defense, I really didn't want to do defense. And I felt like I learned that really, really quickly, like as soon as I started. And people had always told me you're going to know one way or the other. And I did. And I didn't really anticipate that.
Know if you wanted to do PI or know if you wanted to be on one side of the PI?
Knowing which side.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Because I still didn't want to do PI.
That's 100% accurate, I think.
Yep.
And then, so a year goes by and it just didn't feel right. I wasn't happy. I didn't really feel like I was getting the experience I wanted. I got to defend one depo and I didn't get to take any depositions. And I was in advocacy during law school. I did moot court. I tried a case at the DA's office. I clerked for a number of judges. You know, I was just so involved, and advocacy was really my thing. I'm not a transactional type of person, and I was.
You wanted to be up on your feet, not writing reports to some adjuster.
Yeah, definitely. So I didn't enjoy that, and I kind of needed the right time and the right out, and then Hurricane Harvey happens. And I knew somebody who was working with a phenomenal lawyer, one of my mentors, Renee Sigmund, who was formerly at Mostyn Law, and just before Hurricane Harvey happened, she branched off into a managerial role for Merlin Law Group, which is a national law firm. They at the time, I think they had 9 or 10 offices, and then Harvey happened, and then a number of other hurricanes happened. They were like, what, 3?
They go from
Rico. No, it's all for the party. All for the party. So so for a year, I learned about roofs and stucco and all kinds of things that I didn't really want to learn about, but my heart was in the right place.
Had you grown up in Deer Park, you would know all about roofing and stucco.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the trades.
So Renee she was at the forefront of the first party insurance.
100%, absolutely. And I hadn't met her before this, but when we did meet, so I had a mutual friend that had just started working at Merlin for Renee. And she said, she knew that I wasn't happy, this mutual friend. So she knew I wasn't happy. And she said, we need people. This hurricane just hit. Like, we need people. And I thought, I really don't want to read over appraisals and things like that. But in 2008, we lost my home that I grew up in on the water in Nassau Bay. We lost that to Ike. And so I understood what these people were going through. And I was, my heart was in the right place. And I'm a very passionate person. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to go advocate for these people for a little bit. And we'll just see where that takes me. And I did that for a year until Randy Sorrells reached out to me, and I found myself at Abraham Watkins.
Okay. What year was that you joined?
I was only at Merlin for a year, October to October.
Okay. So Randy
Sorrells?
Yeah, hires you over at Abraham Watkins at the time. He's obviously since left, but at the time was he managing partner?
Right. So that was, 2018. I started at Abraham Watkins October of 2018. He had called me like a month before that. I'd never met him. I think we were Facebook friends. But I've always been a very sort of, I network a lot. I market myself. I get out there, I like meeting people. I like, I like being involved in everything. And a lot of what we do as trial lawyers is connections, right? Like who you know, and not just who you know, in terms of like the case, but I was just talking to Bill. We were talking about having a co-counsel and local counsel in certain cases, and that's really it can be sort of a pivotal thing in a case, right? Having somebody that can assist you if they're local or what have you. So I networked a lot. I marketed myself a lot. I kind of knew a lot of lawyers. I knew a lot of judges. I knew people 10, 20, 30 years practicing more than I was. And somehow Randy found out about me and said, you're working for Renee. I know you were in advocacy at the law school, South Texas. Dean Treese has all these wonderful things to say about you. I need you to come in and interview with us. We've had, some changes and we need some more lawyers. And I'd like for you to come meet the partners and we'll see what happens. And so I did.
And that was 8 years ago.
No, 2018.
That was 2018. So I've been at the firm almost 5 years.
5 years ago.
So on that note about local counsel and being friends with everybody, if you are friends with everybody and you call your friend to be local counsel, they don't get as greedy when they ask for their percentage.
Is that true?
I mean, that or they're just afraid of me, but yeah.
Yeah, I want to back up on something.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle, were you going to go?
No.
Try to be a service to our community. Okay, so you mentioned you'd always been out in the community, legal community. Where did that? Was there some moment in law school where you're like, okay, did someone tell you you need to start now?
So good question. It's kind of a lot to unpack, so I'll try to give you the cliff notes. So my dad was an attorney. I'm not the first attorney in the family. I'm the second, but he passed away before I ever kind of set off into that path of, I'm going to study criminology and I'm going to go to law school. And he had passed before I did all of that. And funny thing is, before I ever met Dean Treese, well, I met him as a child. I didn't remember that. But growing up at the dinner table, I heard about Dean Treese. I heard about South Texas. I heard about advocacy and moot court. My dad was a brief writer. I was more of the oral advocate. I won awards for all of my oral advocacy, but I wasn't the brief writer. So I heard about all these things growing up, and none of it really kind of resonated with me until I found myself wanting to go to South Texas, and I called Dean Treese, and I mentioned my name, and of course he says, "Oh, you're Mike Wike's daughter. Like, you need to come in. I want to meet with you. I'm going to introduce you to Dean Kramer, the dean of admissions." And so that's where, yes, it helps to know people, but I still had to make the grades. I still had to sit for the LSAT. I still had to do all the work. And if nothing else, I had to work even harder to prove myself so that nobody thought. And Dean Treese said that to me one time. I'm going to make you work really hard because I don't want anybody to think that there's any favoritism here. And so I first started with Dean Treese, and then he introduced me to Dean Kramer. And then I started law school, and I started just making friends, the Board of Advocates. So before I could actually be on the moot court team or mock trial or anything like that, you can join the Board of Advocates, which is a group of people that support the advocacy program.
I applied in that. I didn't make it.
There's no it's just a volunteer position. You just
but you still
show up to the meeting.
I have a funny story about my application process.
Must have gotten lost in the mail.
Wait, your application for...
So you have to make like a resume. I've never had one at the time, and I sit next to this guy that I went to law school with. He's a good buddy of mine. His name is Joel Glover, and Joel is like on the all-decade team at West Point, offensive tackle, decorated war veteran, like the nicest person of all time. So we like sit down. And he's like, "Oh, is that your resume?" Like, yeah. He's like, "Oh, can I take a look?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So we trade, and I read his, and I'm like, "What the what am I doing here?" Like, he got back from one of the conflicts that he was in, Iraq, Afghanistan, or something, and without any training, him and like 3 guys rode a bike across the country, like immediately straight. And I was like, and that's on his resume, and I'm just sitting there like, I don't know what to do here. I've never had a real job. Like,
you're like model UN alternate.
And he's the nicest guy. He literally.
But what does he do now, Bill? What does he do now?
Joel
I
Glover?
want to say he's at Jackson Walker.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
I had a case with him towards the end. He's
super great guy. And but he could see in my face that that I was destroyed at what I was looking at. And he was like, "Dude, I'm older than you." He's like, "By the time you get there," he's like, "you'll just be way better than mine." I'm like, "The fuck it will, Joel." Like, he was a super nice guy. But that was my Board of Advocates story. Fucking Board of Advocates.
So you actually had to submit a resume?
Yeah, and then they like interviewed us, and I was like sitting out there. We were doing our interviews, and he was right in front of me, and that's when and that's the mentality you want walking into an interview. It's like, you should have seen the guy before you. It's like, I made up for it, but
so some people don't even have to submit resumes. Some people just
apparently they're just throwing out badges.
It's not that. It's not. I don't remember like a paper resume. Maybe there was, but I remember the interview, and then I actually had to you had to try out. There was like a problem, right? So we called like the case that you're gonna advocate for, the problem, and so there was some whatever the facts were, and you had to get up and you had to argue right in front of Dean Treese, and he's popping off the questions, and you have to be able to answer them and handle them. And mine was twice as long as everybody else's, and probably in what we would call a heated panel, if you know what that is. So he definitely made me work for it. But Bill brought up something that I think has also been really instrumental in some of my success and just my networking and marketing and all of that. I'm sort of second career, so I went into law school a little bit older. So I took a number of years where I just wanted to work, and I was in various different industries. And then I was like, okay, now it's time to go to law school. And I think that really served me well. And that's one thing that even Randy was really impressed with before they interviewed me and then after they interviewed. And some of the people that he knew, it's such a small world, people that are not in the legal industry, they were in the retail or restaurant industry and various other industries that I've worked in. He reached out to them and people that he's known for decades. And, whatever they had to say about me, I guess it worked. And he really liked that. He liked that I was second career and that I wasn't just a 24-year-old fresh out of law school and I didn't know what I was doing. I had real world.
Take offense to that at all.
I had real world experience and,
Seeing I was just a 24-year-old kid with no real world experience, ready to be molded.
we all can't be Bill,
Nope.
What did you do?
Randy, if you're out there, Bill would love a phone call. Like, he's not looking to make a move, but, just to lift his spirits, just call Bill.
Well, I will say that, like, Abraham Watkins, and as a whole, y'all probably brand yourselves as a law firm better than anyone, social media-wise. Just, they're all over the place, and I don't know if y'all have requirements or not, but I always see posts of y'all doing things and success and all that stuff. So I see why somebody would be drawn to somebody that has like a big social media, platform, and then saying, hey, we should bring that over here. That's what we're doing already. Or I think at that time they were probably transitioning into it.
Yeah, I think so.
So what kind of stuff you doing at Abraham Watkins now?
All kinds of stuff. For those that know, Randy's not at the firm any longer. He's now branched off and he's got his own firm with Alex, so Sorrell's Law. When I started at the firm, I had cases with all the partners, and that was sort of how all the associates worked. So you worked for all of the partners. You had a number of cases with each of them, and they would decide, who's working on what. And after Randy left, they sort of changed things around a little bit, and each of the partners chose team members. And so I'm Team Mo. So Mo chose me to work on his cases.
Did they like line you guys up and first picks?
I was gonna say, what was
like? How did that happen?
His first round or second round draft pick?
Actually, Brant told me I was first.
I didn't know they actually had a draft.
I used to do that with
actually was told that there was.
Just do like a draft. Yeah,
Do redraft like in fantasy.
Yeah. That'd be totally awesome.
Yeah.
Whoever's the lowest performing attorney gets first pick of the best paralegal. I mean, that way you would be building success all around, Kyle. It's
First place gets $1,000. Second place gets fired.
And so the three partners we know are Mo, Benny Augusto, Brett Stogner.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
They have their own kind of teams. And then are there some cases where everyone kind of works together? Or are they?
Good question. So there are teams like the Exxon trial that Benny recently tried with a number of associates, and Mo had some clients as well. And so Carl's one of his associates, and he went and tried the case because Mo was tied up with depositions and other things. So, there are times where there might be a case like a chemical plant explosion. That was the Exxon trial where, Benny might have a few clients, Mo has a few clients, and then they sort of just tag team. They work together and collaborate. But there's still sort of a division where, your supervising attorney is whatever partner that you work with. But even before that change in the transition from Randy's departure and sort of the change in the breakdown of how the teams worked and the partners and the associates, I found myself already sort of gravitating towards Mo and his cases because of the types of cases he would allow me to work on and the experience that he's really given me. I attribute a lot of my success and the cases that I work on really come from him. I was working on car wrecks and dog bites, and I kind of got thrown in. I hadn't really worked on anything more than I'd say a 6-7-ish figure case before that. And again, I was coming from a defense PI firm, so I actually remember I wrote an MSJ for Jim Newsom, and Mo was on the other side of it. So I got to go to that hearing. I didn't get to argue, of course, Jim did, but that was my first time meeting Mo.
Did you nominate him?
No, because I didn't argue. Jim did.
But you wrote it. You did the hard part. Did you win?
No.
Good.
No.
There you go.
Good.
No. But it was a summary judgment, so.
Oh, so you're just trying to pour out some injured individual on a legal technicality?
Just trying to chew up time. Just trying to chew up the clock.
I told you I didn't like it. I knew right away I wasn't defense oriented. So.
So you said you were drawn towards working with Mo. What's it like working with Mo?
working with Mo is interesting. He's extremely supportive and he's very encouraging. He's tough on his associates. He's very, very tough on his team altogether, whether you're a paralegal, an associate, anybody. He's very tough on you, but it's always for good reason. It's always it's intentionally beneficial for you, for him, for the team, for the firm.
It's like Peter. Super tough on Kyle and I.
He's tough on us.
Yeah. I don't see it behind closed doors. It's
Once the lights are on, it's all happy.
But, tough but fair.
stern, but like
Harsh.
Russian police.
Harsh but well-deserved.
Like he doesn't have sleeves on that shirt. It's a sleeveless dress shirt.
Yeah.
He takes it off as soon as we stop filming.
It's
Gun show.
Yeah.
it's basically T-tops from word go,
Yeah.
and someday we'll work into that.
He's got a phoenix from a
Let's see it.
Firebird hood tattooed on his arm.
Let's see it.
Yeah, as soon as you walk out the door, there's a grant.
It
We're
gets
going to talk about this in particular. One talks about Fight Club. God.
we swore an oath.
Sorry, Pete.
No, but I want to. We got off because I think it's interesting and it's a important trait for a lawyer, that this kind of networking and networking has a negative connotation to it, but it's also just called meeting people and getting to know them and finding out what they do. So how do you when you're a young lawyer,
Mhm.
what would you advise to younger lawyers on how to start doing that?
Yeah, so I guess I didn't kind of tell you sort of my path in networking and who taught me and who kind of presented sort of this way of doing things to me, and that was Judge Deborah Mayfield, who's now passed. She was the first judge I'd ever met, and she's a South Texas grad. I met her through one of the Board of Advocates members in my 1L.
So sorry, Bill.
As a 1L.
Christ.
So there was an advocate who said, "Hey, like, are you still looking? I know you really wanted to work for a judge. I know the perfect person for you." And she's looking as well. She's been interviewing, and she hasn't found anybody that she, is really crazy about. And she's got a number of potential people, but she really wants to meet somebody that I believe is like you. And so he hooked me up with her. We met. I interviewed. And the rest was kind of history. I interned her my 1L summer. I clerked for her, I should say. And it was just a half summer, like a 6-7 week. And I didn't have anything lined up for the second half. And she says, well, let me introduce you to Judge Boehm, who was the chief bankruptcy judge in the federal court at that time. He met me. He liked my resume. He liked that I'd been working with Judge Mayfield. And he also really appreciated that I had sort of second career, like real world experience. Sorry, Bill.
Keeps
but that's what it was, right? And so and then it turned into, okay, now I'm interning at the DA's office and I'm making more connections. I'm meeting more people. And it's not so much like, oh, people are doing things for you. Nobody's doing me any favors. I'm putting in the work. And if nothing else, like I said before, I'm working twice as hard sometimes because I don't want anybody to think that it was just, some friend that handed something over to me. It's more so like, hey, I'm going to open the door, but you have to be the one to walk through it and do the work. I'm just going to open the door for you. And so that's what I learned through Judge Mayfield. And I really attribute a lot of my success and opening doors to her. And I have so much respect for her and just like an insurmountable amount of gratitude for her and all that she's done for me and all of her mentees. She really, really, really made it her life's work to work with women. She worked with men as well, but she really wanted to advocate for women in the law. And so when I interned for her, we weren't just talking about cases. We'd go to lunch and she'd talk to me about what it's going to be like when you sit in a deposition and they mistake you for the court reporter, and when they ask you out instead of asking you for discovery, and things like that. So she really, really took it upon herself to mentor women and, young women. And I really appreciated that. She was only a few years older than me. Also, she was a very, very young judge. So we connected on a lot of different levels. And I really appreciate everything that she's done for me. She kept up with me all throughout law school. She texts me every single morning of the bar exam. She has been a reference, even when I didn't ask her to. people would see Randy, saw her name on my resume, he called her, just like he called Dean Treese. And Renee did the same thing when I worked for Renee Sigmund. And so even when I didn't just, offer these people up, they would reach out, and she always was my number one cheerleader. And she would tell me, and, I then now carry this on, I guess, like her what I would call her legacy. And I share this with my mentees. I go back to the law school. I'm a part of a number of organizations, and I try to bring people under my wing, and I spend a lot of extra time mentoring students and doing what I can to sort of give back. And that's what she asked me to do. Anytime I said, what can I possibly do to repay you? And she said, you have to just keep it going. And then now she's not here with us any longer, but she is, because she's created like an army of people who are going out and doing all of the same things that she would do that benefited us. And I really believe that ultimately it benefits the community and it benefits our clients. So I'm just really grateful for that. And she's the one, she is that one that instilled that in me. And there have been lots of others along the way. Renee, Dean Treese, Mo.
Bill.
Not me. But you did mention something, and I like to think that our profession is getting more progressive than it has been in the past, but we still got guys like Peter in it, right? So when Judge Mayfield gave you that kind of advice, is that stuff that you actually did run into in the real world?
Yes. And it's even more so than I really could have anticipated. I mean, I could tell you a lot of stories. Y'all would probably laugh, but
That's why we're here.
Wait, hold on.
That is why we're here.
You only tell the story if you're willing to give up the name.
off camera.
No, that's not true.
Camera.
We can guarantee you have, once you are in the bubble, you get diplomatic immunity. Whatever you say here, there are no consequences. What do you think Bill's here?
My mom is like 300 of our subscribers. So
She's clicked.
she's not going to tell anyone.
All day long. That's the great thing about being so well followed on the internet is once you say it, it almost as though it completely disappears.
So we're going to get the Abraham Watkins social media person, and that will change. So, yeah, Judge Mayfield, I did not realize until she passed, and I saw all the kind of memories like you shared about her, to what an impact she had during her life.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're carrying it on.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, but these guys don't want to hear these uplifting stories. They want to hear.
Of course.
So, want to hear
they
bad detail.
Yeah, they want to salacious for sure.
No, I was gonna say, like, we are fortunate in the Houston legal community, right? I mean, there are so many great judges, so many great older lawyers, and so many younger lawyers that are eager to learn. I had a similar experience with a very different, right, with Judge Russell Austin. He told me early on when I was trying to find jobs, when I worked for him for 2 years, he said, Kyle, every good lawyer likes two things, and this is the key to marketing. I said, what's that? He said, talking about themselves and having cocktails. He said, if you can provide that service, people will want to be your friend and give you jobs.
Look at you now.
And
And now you own your own firm.
And here's the great thing. I said, well, Judge Austin, some people don't drink. They just want to meet up for a sandwich. And he goes, no, son, you need to stay away from those people.
Yeah. Because you know what?
The sandwich people?
All of their stories end with, and then I got home. And I don't want to hear it.
And then I went home early, and it was a great night.
Yeah, I woke up the next day rested. No, thank you.
Well, that kind of maybe puts a little bow on our first segment. Maybe take a quick break and then dive back into some more specific stuff with Angelina. Sound good?
Yeah, I think we can probably get into some more, because I don't think we.
Oh, you can hear the misogyny in his voice. Ugh.
Yeah.
Gross. You can hear the misogyny
Seriously.
coming out of you right now.
I think we.
I'm just kidding.
I think they want the good stuff. I think they want the really salacious information about the stories.
I'm just saying, we all need a deep cleansing breath before we dive into
Start the slam
the
book.
muck underside of. I'm just saying.
Well, many of
Trial lawyers.
Yeah, so
The biggest dirt bags of all time.
with Angelina, we appreciate it. This will be the end of this week's edition of The Dirty Verdict.
But we'll be right back.
For the dirtier verdict.
It's gonna get weird.
The dirtier.
Thanks for
All right,
joining us
thank you.
this week. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also visit our website at www.dirtyverdict.com. If you are interested in coming on as a guest or have a story idea, please email us at story@dirtyverdict.com.